Hello and welcome back to the Who Asked Me podcast. I know we are a little late this week. I'm so sorry, but it is the first weekend of Pride Month. As you know, I run a bar. Megan is a DJ. We are both queer people, so we had a lot of things going on. Also, I think at the end of the day, it was kind of a blessing that I am putting this podcast episode out late because things kept happening. All right. So we're going to get into them. Before we get into any of the shows, let's talk about some gay shit. All right. Gay girls, lesbians, down a little bit bad. Now, if you've listened to me for a while, you are probably like, you're not a lesbian. You're correct. I'm not a lesbian. I'm a bisexual woman. I have been bisexual I honestly have been bisexual my entire life, right? I don't know if I've said it here before, but I know I've said it somewhere. The first time I ever kissed a boy, I was like, I wonder what it's like to kiss a girl. And that was just like that's my experience, okay? So what's funny is even before Pride, I think if anybody was watching Big Brother UK, I think it was, Jojo Siwa went on to that show. People were shocked. And when I mean people, I am included in that. I am included in that. They were shocked to see that she was very, very friendly with Chris. I cannot remember Chris's last name. He was on Love Island UK a while ago. He was coupled up with Olivia Atwood. And if you know Olivia Atwood, she is kind of like I don't want to say in the same ranks as a Molly May, but I do think if you're a Love Island watcher, you do know that Love Island UK is pretty much a guaranteed trajectory into a level of stardom. Like those Love Island stars get a different level, I think, than the American Love Island stars do even before season 6. So she is doing really well for herself. She's on talk shows over there. I think she's married now. So he was attached to her in the villa. He is 31, 32 years old. Jojo Siwa is 21. Jojo Siwa came out as what she said, but as a lesbian, I feel like a while ago, like when she was still a teenager, I'm assuming, if not a teenager, shortly thereafter, maybe like right around 13. And she said when she was in the Big Brother house, she had a girlfriend, a relationship with somebody who was also quite a deal older than her, from what I believe. I don't follow Jojo Siwa like that. You know, the most I know of Jojo Siwa is that little dance move that I like to do sometimes. And if you're not watching me on YouTube, then you have no clue what I did. You probably know if you know what I'm talking about. I just thought that shit was so fucking funny. It's so unserious. Me and my friends do it at each other all the time. But anyways, Jojo found feelings in Chris, her partner, the one she had when she was in the Big Brother. What do they call Big Brother? Because I keep wanting to say Big Brother Villa. Is it just Big Brother House? Big Brother House. Her partner came out and was like, oh, I got dumped the day she got back. There was definitely some inappropriate canoodlings from Chris and Jojo for two people who are in relationships, okay? So I guess she just had a birthday also, and she posted some photos of her and Chris, and they are together romantically. And she also said, like, I guess I'm more queer than lesbian. Jojo Siwa is young, okay? I don't think there's anything wrong with her, exploring. The most I'm like side-eyeing that situation is because he's 31 and she's 21. It's 10, I think he's 31, 32. He's closer to my age, right? So I will say this, as a bisexual girly, I get it, okay? As a girl who was 20 in a relationship with a 35-year-old, I get that too. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It took me until my 30s to realize that relationship that I was in was not okay. Like, it should not have been happening, right? Was I an adult? Yes. Was I forced to do anything? No. Okay, absolutely not. It's just not a relationship. The power dynamic is so off there. So, of course, everybody's keeping their good eye on Chris. I don't really have any, like, oh my gosh, for Jojo Siwa. That girl is young. She has a lot to figure out. I think she's been tortured by Abby Lee Miller. and the public in general, right? I do take a lot of things that JoJo Siwa says and does like with a very small grain of salt. It's just like, okay, girl, she's young, and I know there's going to come a time when she's going to do or say something and it's going to be like, actually she's not that young anymore. But for right now, she's got a lot to figure out. I think she was in a rush to just like proclaim something, and maybe her first romantic feelings were for women, right? So that's where, oh, I'm a lesbian came from. But now she's met a man. Bisexuality exists. Don't forget LGB, okay? B, it's a thing. That leads me into a conversation that I found interesting even before what I roll into it will be, which is Candace Parker. She's a WNBA star, basketball player. She was on The Breakfast Club, and she talked about how she was terrified, really, to what the public was going to think of her, what her family was going to think of her when she met and started dating her now wife. Candace Parker was married to a man. She has a child from her previous marriage, and she, fell in love with her wife, and they have one or two kids. I don't know if it's one or two, but they have a child together. I know that much. And it's funny because Charlemagne was like, you were really that worried. She mentioned Dr. Umar somewhere in there, and Charlemagne was like, you really like live your life based off what Dr. Umar says. And she's like, no, I don't live my life based off what Dr. Umar says. But it is very, very dense to sit here and act like, okay, this is who I love. This is who, I want to spend my time with, and fuck everybody else. Yes, you get there, but I can also speak as somebody who was married to a man. And she speaks to, because her wife is white. She speaks to the interracial parts. I understood exactly what she was saying. There is a quote from I don't really know who said this, but it was in regards to Whitney Houston and her best friend Robin. So the lore there is Whitney Houston and her best friend Robin were more than best friends. They had a sexual relationship, right? Robin was in love with Whitney. And that people would always say that, and there were things said in the media like, oh, Whitney had to distance herself from Robin because Robin was an openly gay woman, and we all know about how Whitney wanted, or how the record label wanted Whitney to be presented to the world, right? So, and then she married Bobby Brown, and the relationship got more strained there, yada yada. The quote was, "It is okay for everybody to be gay except for a black woman." Now, I know there are people probably listening to this being like, no, like queer people struggle. Yes, that is true. However, it is there's intersectionality here. Let me get into that part. And it is more acceptable, using quotes, for everybody to accept other people's queerness before black women. That is true. Okay, it's always something. It really is. There's such a huge conversation of, while yes, black people are widely liberal in politics, they're, especially older black people, they are more conservative in views. Okay, so the black community and queerness, being gay, it's an uphill battle. It really is for acceptance. And I will say this, I did not necessarily, there's a reason that I don't have this big coming out story, right? I remember my mom, when I told her, she was like, why? She was like, I'm not surprised whatsoever when I told her I was bisexual a couple years ago. Because when I told her I was bisexual, I was in a relationship with my ex-husband. We weren't married yet, but I just kind of told her in passing, and she was like, why? She was like, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. She was like, why didn't you ever say anything? And I was like, I don't feel like explaining this shit to people. I know how I feel. I know that for me, it was more of a situation where I was open to dating men and women, and I just, much like men, right? I do not introduce people that I'm dating to my family until it is serious. I never got there with a woman or a man really to introduce to my family. it's not like I'm introducing all of these guys to my family that I've dated and none of the women. No, that's not the case. I don't introduce people to my family unless we are serious. That's just how I am. So, excuse me, there are misconceptions often surrounding everything. And when you have people like Dr. Umar, who is extremely pro-Black, good for him, but he says things often about interracial relationships, swirl dating, things like that, that mirror things that we have heard our family members say, or you see him, make these videos and he gets all of these likes and comments and laughs and views and things like that. It makes it harder for people to feel comfortable coming out because they don't want those things directed at them, right? So and again, the same-sex relationship of it all, and then you add the interracial aspect on it, is tough. I can tell you, for me, I have a reputation for dating outside of my race for people who know me. I don't care, right? I know who I have been with, right? I am well aware of that. I do not only date white people. I am open to dating white people, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I remember when I told some people that I've known for a while that I was getting divorced, and this person's Black, and this person has known me also since like 6th grade. He goes, okay, are you finally gonna date a Black person now? Which I found funny because me and him had a thing back in high school. And so I was like, I don't know who I'm gonna date next. I don't pick people just based on their race, okay? I think in high school I did, I was like, oh, I need to be with another Black person just because I'm Black, you know what I mean? Both my parents are Black. Those are the relationships that I saw. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to end up with a Black person. And I would say probably into my early 20s also, I was like, I'm going to end up with a Black person. I'm going to end up with a Black person. I don't want to say I sought out. No, I did. I will say that I did seek out, other Black people to be in relationships with, but what kept coming to me were people of different races. And I'm not going to, if I'm feeling a connection with anybody, race, sex, gender, whatever, I feel a connection. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. And those things stay in people's minds. They really, really do. So I could understand where Candace Parker, had all of these feelings because I've had the same feelings. And that leads me to why I say the lesbians are down bad to start Pride. FLETCHER. If y'all don't know who FLETCHER is, she is a pop artist. She is very popular for making queer music. She has a song called I Kissed a Girl, and she has a couple other queer songs. Most of her songs are, like I said, queer pop music. I remember probably a couple months ago, I got into a back and forth online with somebody because it had been rumored, and it is now confirmed that FLETCHER had been dating a guy, right? And people were upset. And I said, well, FLETCHER has identified as queer / bisexual. I know that because I heard her say it, right? And somebody was like, no, she's a lesbian. We've only known her to date women. Well, FLETCHER is now dating a man. FLETCHER was bisexual. I will say this. It is interesting to me that she decided to come out with this information during Pride Month. Okay, I definitely side-eye that there. And I do think that it is important to, if you are not a lesbian, you do not say that you are a lesbian. I don't really know how I want to say this, right? Because sometimes, Megan, my girlfriend, will get mad when I say I'm bisexual. I am bisexual, okay? Am I interested in dating a man right now? No, I'm dating her. That's my boo. That is, but at the end of the day, I am bisexual. I know that sometimes with some lesbians, there's this kind of running, it's not even a joke, it's a thing where they're leave these straight girls alone, right? Leave these bi girls alone because they're always going to leave you for a man. I cannot speak to their experience. I know so many lesbians, including my own girlfriend, who have had that experience. They have dated either a girl that said she was straight or a girl that is bisexual, and then they break up or they cheat on them with men. That's wrong. That is a personality flaw. Okay, that's not a nice thing to do. However, I do think it's a disservice to bisexual girls to say, I'm like, she is going to leave you for a man, right? As far as we know, Fletcher did not leave anybody. She was single. She just entered a relationship with a man. I understand the worry that dating somebody bisexual, and you, listen, let me tell you this. I'm not somebody who's like, you can't, like, you are discounting my bisexuality and my queerness, blah, blah. You can do that all you want to. I know how I get down. I know what it's like for me. And I have people that I feel represented by, and I try to be representation for anybody who may need it. I'm not, you're just not going to discredit my queerness and try and do this. And I'm not going, and when I say you're not going to, it's because I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to argue with somebody about whether or not I'm queer, how it came about. You know, people still think that me and my ex-husband are not together because I decided to be gay. That's not true. Those are my truths, right? So Fletcher, she did build a lot of her platform and her popularity off of being gay and being, I do think that she found a community within gay women, lesbians, and she really dove into that. And I do think that she did a disservice to not only herself, but to the people who found fandom in her by not establishing that, like, she was still attracted to men. And while I know y'all are going to say, but didn't you just say you don't have to explain that to anybody? You don't. But when you start profiting off of things like, you know, the queer community and things like that, I do think that there's a level of, especially in the political climate that we live in now, that you do make those things clear, right? Like, I am an ally, and I hear women say all the time, like, unfortunately, I am straight. That's a way, but I am an ally. That's a way to do that. Saying I am queer, but Fletcher leaned all the way into I'm a lesbian. She was making music from the perspective of a lesbian. And then she disappears off the face of the earth, which is her right. And then she comes back and she's like, I kissed a boy during Pride Month, right? She comes out with this information, which according to her, it's been happening since January. Okay. And under the political climate, she said comments like, this is my real self. Like, I feel like I can come to you and be my real self. And then she releases merch that says boy. It was, I'm going to give Fletcher the benefit of the doubt here because I don't know her, right? I don't know her personally. I don't know her marketing, like her PR people. I don't know what this was. There's a lot of queer people, lesbians, saying that they feel like this is her shifting and, being just kind of like denouncing her queerness. There's also an article that came out that said she is still queer. That is exactly why I say you are doing a disservice to only like pour into the lesbian community if you know that you are a bisexual, right? She profited off of lesbian. She got her famous and got notoriety from lesbians. And now you're like, oh, I kissed a boy. And oh, by the way, I've actually always been bisexual, always been queer. But girl, you did not make that known. Every single thing that she has done while being in the public eye has been for the lesbian gays, like and I mean gays like GAZE, right? In that realm. So it's just like one of those things. And like for like reference, that's why I know people again get mad when women say like, oh, I'm not a lesbian or I'm not gay. I just want to be with my girlfriend. I don't say that, right? Like, of course I just want to be with my girlfriend. That's my boo. But Dejanay Carrington, for example, she's a WNBA player. She is dating her teammate, Nalissa. She was on Angel Reese's podcast, and Angel asked her about something about her sexuality, and she was like, I'm not gay, I just like Liz, right? I think Niecy Nash said that too about her wife. I think her name's Jess Betts. Yeah. I don't get mad about that. Again, I can understand why people do. I don't get mad about that because here's the thing. When you're bisexual, and you're a bisexual woman, there is always a chance that you might break up with your partner, no matter what anybody says about it, okay? No matter why it happens. And the next person you get with might be a man. There are people that don't want to fit into these boxes because they are still attracted to the opposite sex, right? I don't Dejanay Carrington, she plays ball, right? She doesn't sit here and profit off of the gay community the same way Fletcher did. I just think that is why you have people like Jojo Siwa, Dejanay Carrington, myself, that are like, no, I'm queer. I'm openly queer. It's not because I don't love women and because I'm not attracted to women. Trust me, I am. I don't know what the future holds. If I don't ever foresee me or Megan breaking up, but if we do, I said this about me. And when I broke up with my ex-husband, my life is going back to the way it was before this relationship, which was I was open to dating men and women. So there's a reason people sometimes don't want to be put into a box, especially women, and I can say Black women also, because there's a stigmatism to it. And again, I completely understand the lesbians that don't want to date anybody who is not strictly a lesbian, for things like Fletcher. I'm sorry, I do think that Fletcher there was a better way to go about this. I just do. Not blaming her for being queer, you know what I mean? We all are, but there was a better way to go about it. Now that we're done with the gay shit, DDG to the front, okay? I think I talked about this. If you have been living under a rock, Halle Bailey got an emergency restraining order approved for Halo and herself against DDG. DDG acted a fool. He was on streaming. He then went to some type of streaming conference, and somebody called him doo-doo. I don't remember what it was. It was the acronym DDG. They called him doo-doo something. I know it had to do with poop, and I don't remember what they said the G was. But he got mad and got physical, right? And so that didn't do anything to help with the case with Halo and Halle. Well, of course, all of the incels on the internet are doing their thing, trying to call Halle all types of names. DDG, he tried to file a motion to get Halo not to be able to go out of the country to film with Halle. That was denied, but allegedly, his temporary restraining order against her was confirmed. I don't have that confirmed yet. I think that was something that was floating around. There's been a lot of stuff that has been floating around, okay? But he released the text messages that Halle had sent to him while they were arguing when she found out he was cheating and doing all those things. Let me tell you this. They don't prove anything except for that he was causing this woman stress, okay, after she had a baby. The text messages are really, really heartbreaking because it's clear that they are fighting. We've all been there. And again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. People like DDG, people like Tory Lanez, they want there to be tried in the court of public opinion. They don't want to be tried in the actual courts. They don't want to bring their shit to the actual courts, right? Because they want the opinions. They want to mobilize and just get their fellow incels, to come after these women that they feel like are their ops. So a lot of distress on Halle's end. My heart broke reading those text messages because, again, they don't show anything that is harmful to anybody but herself. Okay, and that's scary. And he tried to use that as a way to say that she is not fit to take care of their child, and that he wanted mutual shared custody with a third party handoff. Well, idiot, she already suggested that. That's what she was trying to suggest before we got here. So the fact that you're doing all of this and then coming back and after everything has been approved and she can take that baby where she need to take that baby, and saying, oh, I just want like shared custody with a third party handoff. She already suggested that. And you acted a damn fool. All right, now you got her text messages everywhere and showing that, yeah, she was in a vulnerable state. One, after she had a baby, so postpartum. And two, why didn't you act right? You see how we're not talking about that part? You see how we're not talking about that part? See how we're not talking about how you were doing her wrong and causing her distress after she just had your child? Didn't even think about that. Because these niggas think they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. Oh, it makes me sick. I just, oh my God. Now, let's get into some Bravo mess. Paige is leaving Summer House. I'm not shocked by that. Lexi is also leaving Summer House. I am also not shocked by that. But Paige announced that she was leaving via her story. It's not quite an iOS press release. I'll call it an Instagram press release. That rumor had been floating around for a little bit. We got to the end of the reunion also, and Lindsay, of course, said that she will not be back in the Summer House in a full capacity. And then that is the only, and then Lexi released the next day, I think after Paige, on Instagram press release, that she would no longer be returning either. And like, here's the thing. Lexi made a comment where she said she stood up for women. I do think that there are women that felt seen and heard by Lexi. Not my testimony, okay? But there are women who felt seen and heard by her. I will say that. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. More casting news. Rachel Zoe is going to be joining the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't know how I feel about that one either, right? Because Rachel Zoe used to be on Bravo back in the day with the Rachel Zoe Project, and that was a show that I don't remember. I know that I watched it because if not, I wouldn't know who Brad Goreski is. But I don't, it's Brad Goreski, right? The stylist? Yeah. But that's about it. I don't know if casting another celebrity is the way to go. Because here's the thing. I don't consider Kyle Richards a celebrity casting, okay? Because back in the day when Real Housewives of Beverly Hills first started, we didn't know who Kyle Richards was. We knew she was Paris and Nikki's aunt. But we did not know, like, oh, that's Kyle Richards. Kind of in the same way, like, Kim Richards. Kim Richards was a celebrity. She was, okay? So we need more people that are Kyle-esque, okay? That don't have, I would say like a Crystal Kung Minkoff would be a great example of somebody that I think should be cast, okay? Crystal's not necessarily a celebrity or wasn't a celebrity when she joined the show. She was the wife of a director who had her own company and things like that, but she wasn't living in the spotlight, is what I'll say. Rachel Zoe, it's giving Rebecca Minkoff to me. Like, she's not going to really want to share that much. I don't know if she's really going to get into the mix. So we shall see. I have no hopes for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. They're going to continue to give us nothing, and people are going to, like, still watch it. Speaking of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Tom Girardi is going to jail, and he got sentenced to jail on his birthday. First of all, not him being a Gemini. Ooh, child. He's going to jail for 7 years. He got that verdict, like I said, on his 86th birthday. Interesting. Okay. You know, Erica Jane is still performing at Pride. Why? I don't know. Actually, I know why, but I don't feel like getting into that discourse right now. We would be here all day, and I know some of y'all would be cussing me out in my DMs and in the comment section, so I will zip my lips and throw that key away. Moving on to more casting news. Monique is coming back. You know, Monique, this will be her third try at reality TV. Y'all may be like, third? Yes, Monique was on Real Housewives of Potomac. That's how we met her. Then she went to Love and Marriage DC. I almost said Huntsville. Love and Marriage DC with her and Chris, and she didn't want to show her life, right? And she wanted more control. Producers have famously said that she is hard to work with. And now she's coming back to Potomac. I just don't know how that's going to work, because I'm interested to see if Monique actually wants to share her life, right? She has sealed her and Chris's divorce documents, so we won't be talking about that. She's going to breadcrumb and just, I feel like it's going to be like a Portia thing. Like, we're not going to talk about how she left and then anything like that. And my issue with like the people who are so excited about Monique coming back, Monique is so smoke and mirrors, right? Because before that reunion where she brought that binder, Monique was not in the right. She was not in the right. Like, Candace was trying to be a good friend to her. I still stand 10 fucking toes down. If I had an 11th, I would put that one down too. Monique and Candace were trying to work on their friendship, and then Monique went to Ashley and was like, Candace is talking about you. But the text message showed they were talking to each other. Monique and Candace was talking shit together, but she threw Candace under the bus. Okay, you see? How Giselle and Monique are going to go together, I don't know. And people like to rewrite history. Monique was literally trying to crawl up Giselle's ass as well. She was. That's a fact. You can go back and watch it. Even though people have blinders on when it comes to Monique, so I doubt they'll see it. But, yeah, we shall see. I don't know. I don't care. What's that girl? It's not Stacy. Jazzy got married and the girlies did a little dance off beat. So that looked cute. I guess we'll see. I'm very mid. I was going to say cautiously optimistic. I'm not. I'm really not. Anyways, back to more casting. Brit did not show up to the reunion, the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. When I looked at the seating chart, I said, something is amiss. I said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I said, surely we had more people than this. This is not just Kenya missing. And you know how I feel about Brit Eady. I try to block that lady out of my mind, right? Push her out. But then I was like, oh, it's Brit. Okay. So then shortly thereafter, she released an Instagram press release via stories, and she said that the season has been devastating for her. She will be seeking legal action and accountability from Bravo, and that the person in the picture that Kenya Moore showed was not her. Okay. So, like, if it wasn't you, what? You know what I mean? Right? And I follow a couple lawyers online. And I listen to them because they know better than me. I don't have a law degree. I just got a little bit of common sense to keep me out of trouble enough. So she is claiming that a hostile work environment, obviously, where she was forced to go back into the situation in film where, harm was caused. Well, here's the thing. Kenya was removed from that situation. So that's where my confusion there. From what I understand from the lawyers, it's really hard to prove distress from that situation. So that'll be something interesting. And from what I understand from lawyers also is that Bravo's kind of saving grace is the fact that they did cut ties with Kenya immediately. They did not film with her after that, and they did not film any confessionals. Now, I know that I said that I felt like Bravo should have given Kenya confessionals up until that moment, but maybe in this case that is their saving grace, and that is why they did that. It is, and let me say this also. From my knowledge, I feel like Bravo might have known that this lawsuit was coming before it hit the press. I think, because when you sue somebody, there's a lot of like things that take place beforehand, and lawyers have to get things together, and like there's notifications and things like that. So I feel like Bravo has known that this is coming. I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I will let the Bravo docket girlies get all into that. And who's her name's Erica on TikTok. It's like Black Girls Who Brunch. She's a really good source also for legal stuff. Love, love, love her. But like I said, Brit, I said I never wanted to see her again. You know what makes a couple things about this, right? And besides the initial like eye roll. First of all, I feel it in my bones that Leah McSweeney is sliding into her DMs as we speak. I feel it in my fucking bones, okay? Secondly, Brit, babe, what about the pistols and whips? Because here's the thing, you contributed to the hostile work environment. Like, do we understand? That is my thing. Like, if we took the pistols and whips out of it, I would be like, oh shit, yeah, this is definitely a thing. But things matter, words matter, context matters. The pistols and whips came before the explicit photos. I still don't think, listen, if somebody threatened me with a pistol and whip, my revenge is not going to be showing an explicit photo of them, okay? Then for the photo to turn out not even being her, listen, y'all, don't drag me, okay? When someone is in the act of the photo, right? Their face is somewhat distorted, as you would know. It's not a face-on shot. It's not as if she were lying on her back, okay? And we got a full face frontal. Your mouth is wide. This is going on YouTube, so I'm really trying not to get a violation here. You know, cheeks are coming up. There's other things in the way of your face. So how are we? I'm not looking, to be honest, if somebody shows me that and I'm not expecting to see it, I'm not looking right away. I may see similar descriptors: dark hair, small nose, skin complexion. Like that may be it. And then I'll be like, oh my God. Cause I also might be seeing something else. Like, you know what I'm saying here, right? So I don't think anybody really looked at that photo and was like, oh, that's Brit's eyes, that's her eyebrow, that's her freckle on her chin. No! What? We were all surprised, just as you were. So, like, how you mad that we didn't know? Like, I would love to know what the investigation was, right? Like, how much of the investigation involved looking deeply at that photo to see if it was Brit? Also, here we are again with Brit saying, because at first she admitted to like doing webcam stuff, saying like it could have been me, like, and then at one point she was like, there's no way that can be me, I had it scrubbed from the internet. Now we're back to it not being you. Okay, all right, girl. I don't know. I'm just happy I won't see her again. Do I think she's gonna win the lawsuit? No. She's getting sued by the party planner from last week's party. This all is just also giving like she doesn't have any money. It's giving that she has no money. I hate that for her, but I don't ever want to see her again. Blessings. Hope you get the accountability that you think you deserve. Okay, bye. Moving on. Love Island. Let's get into Love Island. I don't want to spend any more time on... I was going to talk about the Valley, but I'm over it. Anyways, my beloved Love Island is back. We've had 4 episodes, and when I tell you shit... Actually, it's not hitting the fan. It's these new fans that think that shit is hitting the fan. Okay, what is bothering me the most is, again, I say, this is a beloved show for me. Beloved. Me, Kendrick, Raven, we thrive in the summertime. Not only Love Island UK, but Love Island USA, right? We have always watched. It's funny because my like top rated video on TikTok is not even from Love Island last season. It's from the season before. And because the show has gotten so big, you have more like content creators, people commenting on it now. And when it was, I was gonna say, it was never small. It was never small. I will tell you this, like The numbers that used to be put up on like Love Island when I would commentate on Love Island season 5 were huge. And people were still watching it. People were still watching it. Okay. So that's like a misconception that these new fans have convinced themselves of. And it's just so fucking annoying. Everybody's trying to compare people to last year's people of like, oh, this new PPG. No, there's no new PPG. PPG is PPG. Leah Serena and Janae are Leah Serena and Janae. And their friendship came naturally, but it didn't come without argument. So this first batch of episodes, 4 episodes, again, 4, we have seen, it's not even an argument. Huda is Huda. Okay. I don't know what show she thought. Actually, I'm going to say this. I don't think that Huda thought I think Huda knew she was coming on Love Island. I think Huda came in with a very specific way she wanted to be portrayed and the way she wanted to carry herself. And that is what she is forcing upon us. And she's a mom, okay, as she keeps reminding us, but would barely tell the person that she's coupled up with. She's a mom. So I do feel like she is not trying to like bounce from couple to couple because she is aware of how that might be perceived. I personally I wouldn't perceive her like that, but I'm not dumb. I know how the world is and how the internet acts. Okay. There's already people being like, I can't believe they cast her. She's a mom. Chill. I don't think she should not be on the show because of that. I think she should not be on the show because she don't get the premise. Okay. It is 4 days in and she is already not being nice to bombshells who are interested in exploring the connection or a connection with the guy that she is coupled up with. She's being really mean, so nasty and so rude. She called one of the new bombshells out of her name and her quote unquote fans are being very nasty and very rude as well. I have a feeling that Amaya, who's one of the new bombshells, may be leaving the island prematurely. And I hate that because I do think that she, 1, didn't get a fair chance, and 2, the Huda fans are nuts. They're nuts, okay? They're equal to Leah fans now. And speaking of Leah fans, oh my God, guys, I like Leah, okay? Was she my favorite last year? No, Janae and Serena really were my favorites. I loved both of them equally, and Leah was just kind of like, okay, there. Because, like, if you really want to deep it, last year, Leah was really tripping over Rob. Like, that was one thing that made me, like, that annoyed me about Leah is how bad she was tripping off of Rob from jump. I don't like that shit. I do not like that shit. We need to explore connections. Then I don't like the way she moved when Rob dumped her ass for every fucking blonde girl that came into the villa, right? So Leah has said that she felt bullied, that she was not treated properly by the producers of Love Island when she was on the villa. Okay, that's her prerogative. I have no clue the ins and outs of that. She said the only reason she agreed to do the spinoff is because it's not the same producers as Love Island. All right, cool. We had After Sun last night, and Sophie from who hosts Love Island Australia, is now hosting. And she was doing like a little segment with Selly, and I guess Janae and Serena are going to be on After Sun next week. And Sophie, the line was like PPG, or she was like PP no G, and Selly went like kind of like cut. Oh no, we don't talk about that. And that was it. Leah saw it and immediately got online and posted something like, imagine hating on me and I'm sitting here like building Labubu Legos with her sister and Miguel. That mobilized her fans. I don't care what anybody says. Leah, why I say it mobilized her fans is because Leah, when they first came out of the villa, she did speak up and she said like she doesn't stand for hate. So like hating on the other Islanders in defense of her, she does not stand for. So that tells me that you're aware. You are aware. Leah has every right to feel like she was not treated properly by the producers of Love Island last year. I'm not here to say any different. And she has every right to not have liked the little thing that was said. But at the end of the day, her fans coming at Selly, her fans coming at like Love Island and things like that, and Sophie, who was also in the segment, is uncalled for. Those women are at work. And what confuses me, honestly, truly, is that Leah still does Love Island related things. While during the commercial breaks for Love Island this season, she is in, I think it's like a Smirnoff commercial, some kind of liquor commercial that is like Love Island, like based kind of. It's clear that that's what like the premise of the commercial is. So I get it. You don't like those producers, but you're still down to be a part of the Love Island zeitgeist. So I just, I don't know. I really don't know. It was not that, it was a shady comment. It definitely was. I think that they could have just let it be. But then there are also people saying like Janae and Serena are going to come in there and set them straight. Janae and Serena are employees, just like Selly and Sophie are. I don't think Sophie is the host of Love Island Australia. I really don't think she knows the lore, anything behind it. She is hired for a job. They feed them the lines. Like that was their line. That was their line. It is extremely unprofessional for them to, so they could be deemed as like complicated, hard to work with, you know, if they sit there and throw a fit and say like, I'm not doing that because I don't want to, I think it's going to be so disrespectful. Like Sally made a comment and she was like, I'm really sorry. This is the line that I fed. If I thought that Leah would be really offended by it, I would not have said it. Like I would have pushed back on it, but it's not that big of a deal. Okay. It is shady that this is reality TV. I'm sorry. I was trying to talk around it, but it's just not that big of a deal. It's not. If that's the case, just fuck it. Like your friends, okay, if that's that big of a deal, your friends shouldn't be going on After Sun if this is how it's going to be. Like that, do y'all get what I'm saying? Because it's just so frustrating that, again, I can recognize that Leah did not enjoy her time. I think from what I've heard, because I don't like follow Leah, I follow Leah on socials, but I don't consume everything she says. I think she might have made like a YouTube video or something like explaining in depth. I know that they kept her and Miguel apart for some time, and it's no question in anybody's mind. I think that the producers were really trying to push like the Aaron and Kaylor, Rob and Liv, and whoever the fuck else Rob was coupled up with, right? They were trying to push that, but that's not what the fans were wanting. And so they were keeping Leah and Miguel away from each other and kind of like causing them to not talk to each other so they couldn't focus on their relationship, and they love each other, right? They're in a relationship. So I get where that is stressful. And then of course I don't like the whole Rob of it all, how that went down, but again, I would kind of say that's a little bit on Rob as well. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just all of these things are so heightened. And I do think that when you have a platform, kind of like what I was saying about Fletcher earlier, when you have a platform, you do have to be aware of like the things that you say and like what it sends your fans into. And Leah's fans are like claiming to be so against bullying and things like that, but they're using their defense of her to now bully Sophie and Selly. It's not, you're not going after Love Island production. You're just not, because at the end of the day, nobody like knows those producers by name. They're just like production, but there's no faces to that. Those people kind of get to hide behind everything else. So I just wish that, I truly wish like the new fans would either get the fuck out of here or settle down, because what they're failing to realize, there's so many people saying like there's no winners, there's no star power, there's no, like, no one would even be watching Love Island USA if it weren't for PPG. That's not true. That is not true. Okay. I don't know how else to tell you that. Like the OG fans, we were watching when they were filming on top of a fucking casino in Vegas, and we're going to continue to watch even though Leah, Serena, and Janae are gone. I like them. I follow them. I can't wait to see what their careers do, but that's not why I'm not going to watch Love Island, okay? And I just think that it's just so played out. It really is. Now, Yulissa, they got her up out of there. There were clips of her floating around on the internet of her saying the N-word. And, you know, what's funny to me is this is going to be the same thing, kind of like Hannah from Love Island last year, where she, after she was out of the villa, she got drunk at a Gracie Abrams concert and was saying the N-word and being like all just ridiculous, right? She threatened a police officer, all of those things. Then she came online and said that she got baptized and turned her life over to the Lord. That is going to be the trajectory of Yulissa. If anybody continues to pay attention to her, right? It's going to be like, oh, she was bullied off of Love Island. She didn't get a chance to fix her behavior. Babe, it's 2025. She gave this Chat GPT apology response about how she didn't know any better and she was using a word she didn't have a right to use. Those clips are like maybe at tops 5 years old. 2020, 2021. You didn't know that you shouldn't be saying that? You have a whole bunch of racist Cubans from Miami that are like, oh, you know, we say that word. And then you have non-racist Cubans from Miami that are like, yeah, we've been telling your ass to stop. We've been telling y'all to stop. So it's just one of those things where I already know, I can see where it's going to turn into she was bullied, she is a victim because, you know, people were upset that she made a mistake. And it's like, oh, brother, in the words of Raven. Oh, brother. That is going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Who Asked Me podcast. Look, in my mind, I said this is going to be a short little episode. Here we are 50 minutes later. Don't forget to rate and review. Leave a nice review. If you don't like me, that's fine. Okay? Leave me be, right? If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on any of the things that we talked about here today, and I will be back to talk to everybody on this podcast next week. Bye.